have invented advanced cures for diseases, and we are fascinated by the most ridiculous of things. I was in a hotel in the United States, in the state of Arkansas, which gave us one doozy in Washington. That's a whole different issue. But in this hotel, called the Peabody Hotel, at 5 in the evening, they say everybody has to gather around the fountain because we're about to see a spectacle of human engineering. At least that's how they build it up. So everybody's waiting with their camera next to the fountain at this 5-star hotel, and here's what happens at 5 o'clock. A dude walks a bunch of ducks. Literally, ducks in a row with a bow tie. This guy's walking the ducks. He's managed to get ducks to walk in a line, and this is what people are excited about. And I'm saying, you know what? If you show me a duck making 10 guys from Arkansas walk in a line, now that's a marvel. Where is our imagination gone? Imagination is the biggest nation in the world. The biggest room in the world, room for improvement. There's always a smart one in every audience. What's the smallest room? Mushroom, there, that was free. All right? Finally, having the force of your impact. Folks, man is tridimensional. We're mental, physical, and spiritual. We're frustrated because we're trying to eke out an existence in a two-dimensional way. Many years ago, in the middle 30s, Arthur Guiterman wrote a poem called Gaily the Troubadour. And I'm going to try to recite that poem from memory. And I want you to pay careful attention to the words to see if everything he predicted has come to pass. First, dentistry was painless. Then bicycles were chainless. Then carriages were horseless. And many laws enforceless. Soon, cookery was fireless. Telegraphy was wireless. Coffee caffeineless. And cigars nicotineless. Then, oranges were seedless, the putting green was weedless, the college boy hatless, and the proper diet fatless. Now, our motorways are dustless, our new steel is rustless, our tennis courts are sodless, and our new religion's godless. We have arrived at a place where we are happy with inductive reasoning. My heart likes it, my head agrees with it, you better approve it, and you better applaud it. We become spectators when life is a participator sport. How many of you have ever been to a sporting event, soccer match, baseball game, something? Yeah. See, every sporting event in the world is a microcosm of life. 50 to 75,000 people desperately in need of exercise, constantly yelling at 22 people desperately in need of rest. So here you are, spectators, for a day and a half, trying to ask yourself this pivotal question. For the event in Hong Kong, the chair next to me is empty, can I commit? I want to grow, so I've come to learn, but can I believe that that possibility exists for me? In his best-selling book, Zig Ziglar, in book See You at the Top, tells an amazing story that changed my life. The story is of a balloon salesman in a park in New York. Every time there was a small lull in the crowd, he released a balloon, and the crowd gathered because they saw a balloon go up, a colorful one. And that was his sales technique. As soon as the crowd died down, he'd release another balloon, and people would go and buy more balloons. A little black kid, African American, walked up to the balloon salesman and said, "Mister, if you release a black balloon, will it go up?" And the balloon salesman gives us words of wisdom when he said, "Son, it's what's on the inside of the balloon that makes it rise." When I read that story, I knew my career would take off. The first appointment you have to have every morning is not with the client. The first appointment you have every morning is with yourself. When you wake up in the morning, what is your self-talk? Psychologists have said that your self-talk every morning is more powerful than the next 5 inputs you'll receive during the course of the day? What are you putting into your mind that allows you to have this force of impact? Now I put some words up there. Inheritance. If you're living your life to leave an inheritance, those that get it are really glad you're dead. Learn to leave a legacy. My father gave me a good name. I have not lived in that little southern Indian town in over 30 years. And yet when I go to the corner store and there's a crowd, he says, take whatever you want, we can settle up later. You're Dunham's boy. He gave me a good name. The good book said a long time ago, a good name is worth more in reputation than silver or gold. What name are you building for your agency? What name are you building for your organization? Are you going to set standards that will become the benchmark? See, I have set some records and sales that will never be broken. Because when I went in and they said, this is your quota, and they gave me a number, I added 25% to that with my belief that if I did what they expected, if I wanted to do what I expected of myself, I would always exceed what they expected of me. Other people's standards are just standards. Your standards are intrinsic. That's deductive. Good, bad, yes, no. I planned and prepared. Now I legitimately expect to win. Earl Loomis said, as individuals, we deny our talents and our abilities because to acknowledge their existence will now force us to use them. So let me give you a couple of quick stories, and then we'll be on our way. Many years ago, when I was in direct sales, working for the legendary Zig Ziglar, the phone rings. And the guy on the other end of the phone, in his accent, he was from Panama. He said, how much Zig Ziglar come Panama City? In those days, Mr. Ziglar's fees were $75,000 US for a 1 to 3 hour engagement. Not because of content, he said, but because of commitment. He had been booked 2.5 years in advance. We're just putting numbers up there hoping that they'll go away. But people kept accepting. See, in your industry, there was a legend by the name of Ben Feldman, East Liverpool, Ohio, selling $5,000 whole life policies. Man was an introvert by nature. The first speech he made, they had to put a sheet in front of him. He was afraid of a crowd, and this guy had sold more than many companies combined. East Liverpool is not a great metropolis. All he kept was adding zeros. And so when the phone rings and says, how much Zig Ziglar come Panama? I said, $75,000. I stood up. Hear me carefully. The word price was tossed around quite a bit. And I work for the Cadillac of trading companies, and my own personal fees are no slouch either. I don't ever apologize for price. When I quote a number and they say, wow, that's a lot, I always say, lower my voice and say this. Years ago, we made a decision to explain price one time rather than apologize for quality for a lifetime. What part of my value proposition do you want me to repeat? So when the phone rings and the guy says, how much? I said, $75,000. He said, and? I said, and first class expenses for 4. I thought, if I'm sending the old man, I'll go. He said, and? I said, and a trip through the Panama Canal, because Mr. Ziglar said, one of my goals is to go through the Panama Canal. Remember when Kelly talked about how the value proposition, when your mission aligns with their mission, something intrinsic begins to change. So I was now not operating on my goal of selling, I was operating on his goal of giving. I said, and a trip to the Panama Canal. Now many people in this audience will think, well, that's a cheat. You're just adding stuff that didn't exist for personal benefit. No, folks, here's the reality. That day, if they had told me his fee was $1 million, I still thought I was giving it away. Because anytime I sold Mr. Ziglar, I believed I was giving his fee away. Because when I needed life change, he changed my life. There is no price I can put on him. Do you believe in your company and a product to that degree that whatever you're offering, you believe you're giving away at a discount because it is actually that much more priceless when they need it 30 years down the road? That's value. See, Dennis Waitley said value is in the doer, not the deed. I'll never forget the day when we got to Panama. We had trailed through the Panama Canal in the mirror.